Hello and welcome to A Gypsy Kiss. I'm Shelley Carney. Today I'm speaking with Matt Maisano. He's the filmmaker of a film called Fenns Searchers, and we're going to speak with him today and learn more about that. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background as a filmmaker.
I went to film school and just had a fairly typical film student college experience, and worked in news for a while, and then worked in a TV production company doing a lot of stuff for Food Network and HGTV and that kind of stuff. And then 3 years ago moved to start a job at PBS. So now I do basically make short documentaries for a living. And this was my dream project on the side.
What was it that drew you to this story, gave you the passion to finish it?
Well, I heard about it in 2013, I guess it was, when a lot of searchers did as well on the Today Show. And it's a modern day treasure hunt. Like, I mean, like, this doesn't happen, you know? It's just like, just on its face, the most simplistic way when I first heard it, you know, I think I had a reaction a lot of people do. It's just like this like Lewis and Clark frontierism, you know, that's kind of gone in this day and age with GPS and topographical maps and all this like technology people use to make the wilderness not so much like the wilderness. And here's this treasure hunt. So I just really love the story on its face value like that.
Matt, what was it about the searchers that made you want to focus on them?
You know, like a lot of searchers, they're interested in it to find the treasure. You know, like I honestly haven't had that much of an inclination to go look for the treasure. I'm much more interested in why and how and, you know, the people aspect of it. So that's what's fascinating to me. What makes a person get so involved in it? What makes them devote large amounts of time, resources, energy to you know, developing this hobby? That was always the fascinating part to me. So it was sort of like a no-brainer to just focus on the searchers.
Did you feel it had a correlation with maybe like your avocation for filmmaking? They have an avocation for treasure hunting?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I'm a one-man crew. My wife was my only crew. So I just had to pay her in good restaurants. But I have a lot of similarities there to answer your question. Yeah, because it's like, this was a dream project for me that I didn't think was achievable. That's why it took me 2 years from finding out to start production, because I just didn't think I could do it. But just like they don't think they can, you know, how am I going to travel across the country, do all this stuff, go to remote areas I've never been to? Yeah, it's a lot like making a film. It's a logistical challenge. It's a financial challenge. It's all kinds of challenges, you know. So. And
what did you learn about the searchers as a community or a group?
They're not a homogeneous group. They're very diverse. You know, I learn more every day. You know, a lot of good people, I noticed there's an interesting mix between people that have been outdoor people their whole lives and also a large group that maybe did Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, you know, or went camping and fishing with their parents as kids and kind of lost touch with that. And then they see this opportunity to get back into, have a good reason, a secondary reason to go out and outdoors. And like, that was really interesting to me. People that don't do this stuff and suddenly they're, you know, canoeing down some remote river in Colorado or, you know, things like that. It's cool to see that love for the outdoors be rekindled in them.
What was the most interesting or challenging thing that happened during the making of this film, and what did you learn from that?
It's just like being I grew up in Connecticut. I live in North Carolina now, but, you know, I'm a Yankee, and like a lot of nice things about that area, but we're not frontier people. We're not like self-dependence is not as big a thing in that part of the country. So like I always, like when I first started talking to Sasha, who's one of the two main searchers profiled in the film, among others, she's just telling me, like, as I'm getting ready to come out here and make the film, well, you know, your GPS may not work. These things that if you grew up in a part of the country where there's no end to civilization, and like, you know, hear from people out here, yeah, you can drive 2 hours in every direction in some areas and see nothing.
Right.
So it's like, that's a lot of things I learned. just like be prepared for the unprepared, and you're in a whole different part of the country. It's
Yeah, it is. So it's an awakening.
Yeah.
To come out into the large open spaces.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, it's beautiful country, of course, and it's just so different from where I've grown up, and so being able to go hike out to some of these remote areas with the searchers is really awesome. Yeah, we did a lot of that in the film.
And you talked about how you're a crew of one, and you brought your wife along. So tell us a little bit about that adventure.
Yeah, I mean, it was an adventure for us. So in the film, our travel is, we never wanted it to be about us, to be clear, and it isn't, but our travel is an element to kind of get us from place to place. A lot of times film needs exposition just to, where are you, when, what's going on. So that's kind of our role in the film, and to tell a little bit of really the true story of how the film was made as well in the process. But yeah, just me and my wife, having our own adventure out there to a place we've never been, things we've never done. Like, for example, my wife had never driven another car other than her own.
Oh.
So one of the first things I told her is, I need to film with the searchers on this hunt we're going on in their vehicle.
Right.
So you're going to need to drive the rent-a-car through these remote mountains in Colorado. And she was terrified at first. But, she pulled through and did really well. But like that for her, it snowed, rained, and I think hailed that day that she was driving through the remote mountains of Colorado. And she was alone in the car. And it was just like, I think she was probably cursing me at the time, but in retrospect, she had a lot of fun, just things like that.
So after all these experiences, do you have some advice for any of the searchers who are watching?
Just get out there and do it, I think we have such a cautious nature. A lot of us we think that it's more complicated than it is. I find a lot of the time with a lot of things in life, and this included, is just like, if you've been reading the blogs and doing all the things that new searchers do, reading the poem, analyzing it, just stop waiting and go out there and look. And like, you're gonna make mistakes, just like I would, or anyone would. I made a ton of mistakes in the filmmaking, but just go do it. Like, have fun, get out there.
In your opinion, when and where will Fenn's treasure be found?
Well, let me first say that I think Forrest doesn't want it to be found for 1,000 years. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks that, because what's the name of the ancient artifact that he's a big fan of? He mentions in the book. It's a historical...
The bracelet.
No, I think he's talking about the...
No, in Fenn's book, he has an admiration for this ancient item that was buried for 1,000 years, and he mentions it. Anyway, I think he wants that same legacy, and I too think it would be cool if it went hundreds of years without being found. I know people don't want me to say that, maybe, but let's see what happens. Like, what are future generations going to impose on this that we didn't? How are they going to perceive it, and what new technologies are going to make it easier to find or harder to find? So,
what's coming up in the future for your film, Fenns Searchers?
So we're premiering our film, the world premiere, at Albuquerque Film and Music Festival this summer, and submitted to tons of festivals all around, and just kind of waiting to hear back from most of them. And then I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, so probably do an event there. Just take it one step at a time.
And what about you? What projects will you be working on next?
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy my weekends for a while, I think, before I take on another big project. But it's really no other film work in a while. I think I do shorts probably for now. This was like sort of a big goal for me, a very challenging goal to make a feature film, on shoestring budget and all kinds of stuff. So I feel like I've done that now, and let's focus down and do something more local and smaller.
For our filmmakers who are watching, tell us about the equipment that you used on this shoot.
Yeah, so I mean, most of this stuff was rented, and shot the film with a Canon C100. which is kind of a nice entry level but very high quality camera for new filmmakers to use.
And your audio, because I know out in the field, audio is really difficult.
Yeah, just a lot of it is kind of like fly by the seat of your pants, capture what you can with the on-camera shotgun mic. But we also had a wireless lav mic going to pick up what we could as well.
What do you feel was the most difficult moment in making in this film?
I mean, I think a lot of the most difficult moments in making a film, at least on a very small scale that I work, is not so much specific to this film as it is just like finishing a project. Like you'll see in the film, I sent the email to Forrest in February of 2015. So here we are, almost 2.5 years later. So the most difficult part is really just like keep going,
right?
Because it's like that initial love of the project. It's not that it goes away, but it becomes something that it changes, and you have to continually like rejuvenate yourself. And thankfully a lot of the searchers kept me involved and kept me motivated.
As a documentary maker, you learn not only about your subject, but about yourself with every film that you make. What do you feel that you learned about yourself making this film?
I think it's as simple as just trying to obtain what I thought was an unobtainable goal for me to make a feature film. Again, just because it is all self-funded, and a large chunk of my life savings, thankfully my wife let me put into this. But so it's sort of like I just learned that to stop kind of like creating artificial barriers in your mind, and just start it and get going with it, and kind of like let the momentum carry you. So I learned that to not like get so caught up in the details, and just have fun out there, and try to, much in the same way a searcher probably does, is focus on the prize and keep going.
So if people would like to find out more about your film or you, where can they go to look?
They can go to, honestly, the best place is probably our Facebook page, Facebook/Fenns Searchers, or Big Toe Media TV is the company website. Okay. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today, Matt.
Thank you. Appreciate having me here.
Yeah. And we look forward to seeing your film very soon. And for Gypsy's Kiss, I'm Shelley Carney. Thank you for watching.